Hey, this is Mike, and today we're looking at Detective, a modern crime board game, and specifically the LA Crimes expansion. Disclaimer that I did get a review copy of this expansion, but the goofy thing is, like with a lot of the one-off games that we cover, like Unlock games, Exit, the new adventure game series from Cosmos, I like to trade these games away or give them to my friends so they can play them too. We did that with Detective after we played that, and I didn't realize that this expansion technically needs the components from Detective, but you really don't. What I've done here is I'm using just some generic cubes to mark the different skill tokens I might have. So any cubes that are on Barbara are going to be wild tokens. Any clues that are on Gregory Ford are going to be the magnifying glasses. So I think that'll kind of take care of things. I've got Jeremy Hudson here to represent our authority tokens, the blue ones. And I've got some red gems to be stress. So we should be pretty good to go. I think as long as you read the rules for the original Detective, and I've of course played it before, you can actually play this as a standalone if you don't mind kind of cobbling together some components. As with recent games I've covered where it's a one-off experience, I'm going to be playing Case 1 in the LA Crimes expansion. There's 3 cases total, but I'm not going to show you the entire thing. I'm probably going to stop after the first day or the second day if that's too quick. That way, if you're into the game, you can pick up your own copy and you can play through it, make different choices, and see the full story play out. For the actual cop that I'm playing, I picked William Washington. 1 more year and he's retired, so clearly we got some Danny Glover going on here, Lethal Weapon, of course. His ability is to spend 1 authority token and an appropriate skill token from the token pool to dig deeper on a lead card that has already been resolved. So when I get into the kind of how to play section, I'll show you what that means. But he does have 1 skill token for me to use. Then I turn it over all the other characters. These all come specifically in the LA Crimes thing. And you can see the 80s is strong with this game. And starting with all these other skill tokens and some authority. And here's the board that also came in the expansion, which again makes this a little bit of a standalone. Starting at 8 o'clock. I'm assuming I'm going to start at the police station, although when I see the briefing, that might change. And of course, I'm on day 1. Then I've got this deck of cases. And if you haven't played Detective before, here's a quick kind of rundown of how the game goes. There's a mystery solving game. You're trying to solve a case. When you think you have everything, you can go to your chief and try to answer some questions and show you actually know what's going on. And the game will have you drawing these cards. Each card will give you the hours it takes, which will advance your time track. And it'll often give you information and options and new leads you can go to, like new cards you can investigate. And basically you can spend time until you get to 4 o'clock. Every hour you go past that, you take one of these stress tokens. And the individual case will tell you how much stress you can take before you automatically fail the case. Now, additionally, it takes 1 hour to travel to a different location than you are already at. So generally it makes sense efficiency-wise to stay in the same place when you can. And you can use each character's ability once per day. So I can use William Washington's ability to go back to a previous lead once per day. And what his ability means, on a lot of cards, you'll have this option to dig deeper. You'll see it has like a little arrow to turn it over because usually you only look at the front of a card. And it'll tell you which skill icon to discard. So I'd have to get rid of like one of the little magnifying glasses from Gregory Ford here. And that would let me flip over the card and potentially find out new useful information. Normally, you can only do that when you're in the middle of investigating the card. But William Washington lets us kind of go back and return to a card we've already seen. Finally, this game makes heavy use of the internet. They have this AntaresDatabase.com website that they use, and they've got cool like little things for each of the cases in the core game and the expansion. Now, if you've only played the core game, you'll see that the website looks very different for this expansion. They've tried to go back into, I don't remember having the internet in 86. Not that I was very old in 86, but yeah, they've got some kind of like early internet here. And you can kind of scroll through, and this is going to tell us the setup. So let's get right into the case. Again, we'll just play through a bit of it and not try to spoil too many things. But let's read this intro text. Los Angeles Police Department, September 3rd, 1986, 8 a.m. James Bradley, the balding, aged chief of the LAPD, is known for his temper. His screaming during morning briefings can frequently be heard throughout the entire building. The glass doors to his office have been replaced on numerous occasions after being slammed shut in fury following a meeting that revealed performance below his expectations. Today, however, he's in a different mood. Bradley anxiously scratches his head as he walks around his office, carefully drawing the blinds on each of the glazed glass partitions that run along the length of the room, separating it from the large, open, desk-filled workspaces of the police station. He always makes sure that none of the other officers stick their noses where they don't belong. Lighting a cigarette, he sits laboriously in the chair behind his desk. I've gathered you here because I've been presented with a troubling case. As you may know, there was a shooting at the Bel Air Point Hotel the night before last. Robert Teller, a local politician running for governor of California in the upcoming election, was targeted. Adam Jenkins' team has been dealing with this since yesterday, but... Bradley looked towards the door with a troubled expression. Well, I hate doing this, but the individual who attempted to kill Teller was Jennifer Wolfe. She was the daughter of Tom Wolfe, an old friend of mine from the Army. We served together in Vietnam. Eventually, he was pulled into the Special Forces, and we didn't stay in touch much after that. The girl was killed during the exchange of fire. Bradley stands up and opens the door to check that nobody is listening, as if what he was about to say was really important. From what I know, Teller was at the hotel meeting with a few LA politicians to discuss the election without drawing the attention of journalists, and decided to remain there for the night after the meetings. Jennifer Wolfe was celebrating her birthday in the same hotel. At some point in the middle of the night, she left her room, headed toward the elevator, and passed Teller's room, where there was some sort of verbal altercation between Jennifer and the bodyguard standing outside of the room. The girl suddenly drew a gun. The bodyguard fired his weapon, hoping to neutralize Jennifer, but the shot proved to be eventually fatal. This whole situation is making me sick. I'm being pressured by the mayor, the board of commissioners, and some clowns from the hotel to end the investigation quickly. I'm fed up with all the phone calls from prying journalists, having to explain this was just an unfortunate confrontation that escalated. With a number of people breathing down my neck, we'll have to close the case by the end of the week. Officially, the investigation is being led by Adam Jenkins. He's good, we all know that. You'll be the second team. What I'd like for you to do is operate unofficially. Something is off here. Get a better idea of what happened, discreetly. We're in the middle of a pre-election cesspool where the smallest misstep could cause political controversy. A drunk girl attempting to shoot a gubernatorial candidate? If that's the story that gets out, it could become a disaster. Alright, so we get some details. We get 3 more authority tokens, which come with the 2 that Jeremy Hudson already gave us, so we have 5. Our task is to gather information on why Jennifer Wolfe tried to shoot Robert Teller and where she got the gun. Although, I'm not sure if she tried to shoot Robert Teller. It sounds like she might have been trying to kill the bodyguard, so we'll have to look into that. We have 4 days to finish the investigation. And the stress limit is 7, so we got to try to keep our stress level below that. Now we've got some leads. We can go to the crime scene. That's card number 101. That'd be downtown, so it costs an hour just to drive there. We can read some case files. We'll start with that because that's free. We can look up Jennifer Wolfe on the internet. That's also free. And then on the second day of the investigation, we're not going to probably get that far. We'll read 107 automatically. All right, so let's start out with the case file. Okay, so this, I guess, is the report that Adam Jenkins has made so far. On September 2nd, 1:17 a.m. in the Bel Air Point Hotel at 14th Street, there was an argument between Jennifer Wolfe and Josh Morgan, must be the bodyguard, Robert Teller's bodyguard. In effect, Jennifer Wolfe was shot. The incident took place on the 10th floor at the door of room 1003. Okay, evidence, weapon, and bullet shells were secured as evidence of the crime scene. They were handed to the LAPD laboratory for analysis. Intervention description. Upon arriving at the crime scene, the police officers found a white woman with a gunshot wound lying on her back near room 1003, and a man identified as Josh Morgan. In the hotel room, they found and identified Senator Robert Teller, as well as his running mate Chris Joy. Everyone was sober. An ambulance was called. The woman died due to blood loss on her way to the hospital. Okay, so in room 1007, I guess that was Jennifer's room, bottles, drinking glasses, a Deprax pill bottle in the bathroom were secured. The room was messy. Glasses, bottles, pizza boxes, gift packages in a trash bin in the bathroom. A triangle drawn with golden lipstick on the mirror. Sequence of numbers 15, 11, 32. I'll be taking some notes for myself, of course, but you don't have to worry about that. Okay, in room 1003, bullets stuck in the door frame secured, fingerprints lifted. Okay, draft report. 2 girls have been partying all night in room 1007. Who's the other girl? After 1 a.m., one of them left the room and got into an argument with the senator's security. Josh Morgan, after taking a shot, provided first aid, trying to stop the blood loss. Hotel security arrived at the scene. The police and ambulance were called. The wounded girl was taken to the hospital 15 minutes later, but she died on the way there due to severe blood loss. The fingerprints were taken, and she was identified as Jennifer Wolfe, 23. Why was this girl on the same floor as a politician? Political assassination? Next to Jennifer Wolfe, there was a .45 caliber handgun. Josh Morgan testified that it was he who took a shot at Jennifer Wolfe after warning her twice to put her gun down. Morgan testified that the woman took a shot at Teller. Oh, okay, there we go. And that was when he fired. How did she acquire a gun? Okay, Morgan's testimony. Mr. Teller had arranged with the hotel to make him a quiet guest. Walked through the back door, didn't want to be recognized. Morgan was in the corridor when he saw a girl walking out of the other room. He asked her to use the stairs because Mr. Teller was supposed to use the elevator to get to the unofficial meeting. A moment later, Mr. Teller's at the door. Jennifer walks toward the staircase, but suddenly she turns back. She pulls a gun out of her purse and aims at Mr. Teller. Morgan warns her twice. She fires at the wall right next to the senator. Morgan shoots her. Besides that, he doesn't remember anything else in particular. He didn't see anyone else except the other girl who walked down to the hotel lobby several times and the fast cargo pizza delivery guy about half an hour before the incident. Create notes, interview the hotel manager. Why was Teller on the same floors with some random chicks? Don't use those words, but I guess it's the 80s. Chief of hotel security. Who's the other girl? Where is she? Okay, so we don't know yet. Where'd the gun come from? Witnesses. Okay, we got hotel workers. What's going on? Motive. All right, so we got some further leads. So we already have 101. We can analyze collected evidence at the laboratory, 102. Do an autopsy, 103. And make an appointment with Robert Teller at the police station where we already are, which is 104. But first, let's go back and check out our information on Jennifer Wolfe. There she is. Okay, so she's connected to Tom Wolfe. Access denied. I guess the police chief wouldn't want us to know. So arrested during her attempt to steal from Me and Heel store on 1982. So she had tried to shoplift, but no further criminal record. Ooh, her address is 105. And here we can add her fingerprints to our matching database, and then when we get like the fingerprints from the scene of the crime, we can check if it matches against hers. And so let's see. My first instinct is to go to the lab. I'd like to be efficient, and I could interview the senator right here at the police station. Well, I'm assuming he'll just say he has no idea who she is and won't help very much. Probably the truly most useful place might be the crime scene in downtown or her place in the suburbs, but those are only single leads right now. The lab, I have 2 leads, so I think one of those places makes the most sense. So let's try interviewing the senator, which was 104. And note that you don't know how much time something will take, so a lead might end up taking like 4 hours when you thought it would only be 1 or 2. Wouldn't be surprised if that's the case here, since it probably takes a while to get the senator to come. Oh, 2 hours. So we immediately move the time track to 10 a.m. You slam the phone down in frustration. Over an hour of calls with Robert Teller's staff and no success in scheduling a meeting with him. Different iterations of the same message. Mr. Teller was already questioned by the police and told him everything he knows. He will, of course, eagerly meet with Mr. Jenkins if there aren't any additional questions. But the campaign's in full swing and his schedule is quite full. The earliest he'll be able to meet is next week. Fuming, you march to your boss's office. Bradley's, of course, furious as well. He throws the papers he was reading onto his desk and yells profanity so loudly the windows of his office start shaking. I'm covering up a bad word here. When it came to filing forms at the police department begging for protection, he had all the time in the world. When he received threats in the mail, his assistant was calling my office for half the day. Now that we need something from him, all of a sudden he's got no time. All right, let me try to pull some strings, he says as he picks up his phone and makes a few quick calls. Eventually he hangs up the phone, grabs a cigarette from his pack and lights it. Nothing. I'm not able to get anywhere near Teller. We can talk to his running mate, Chris Joy, or Josh Morgan, the bodyguard that was involved. That's the best we can get. All right, so I can spend a skill token to receive the transcript of Teller's questioning. And now, okay, I've got Chris Joy and Josh Morgan, the running mate and the bodyguard, so I can go question them. But yeah, let's flip this. I've got 1 of those skill tokens from my character, plus I've got a wild. You're not happy about the additional work, but what can you do? Maybe the additional hour of digging will lead to something. Sighing heavily, you sit behind your desk with a fresh notebook, a cup of coffee, and the file. So we get file 104. All right, so this is Robert Teller's interrogation. Adam Jenkins asking the questions. Senator, what do you remember from last night?
Please forgive me, but I'm still in shock. Despite the fact we're being threatened all the time, I didn't suspect that something as extreme as this would happen right before the election. However, we don't underestimate any danger, so Chris reported to the police, and we filled out all the necessary paperwork. Luckily, we decided to hire people from Protect and Serve. Do you have any idea who might have wanted to attack you? That girl was under the influence of alcohol. I don't believe this was a planned attack, more like a series of very unfortunate events. What preceded this incident? Well, we were getting ready to leave because we had a scheduled meeting in another hotel. That's when we heard a noise outside. Chris opened the door to our room and investigated. He told me that I could come out because everything was under control. I got closer and confirmed what he said. The problem seemed to be dealt with. That's when Morgan said something like, "Mr. Teller, please go back in the room," and something went wrong. The girl turned around and pulled out a gun. Next thing I remember is an exchange of fire. Fortunately, both Chris and I came out of this unharmed. You don't believe the threats your campaign has been receiving? Politicians are always condemned, be it in the newspaper or private correspondence. I mean, Democrats have it even worse after Mondale lost to Reagan. I try not to worry about such things. My running mate deals with those issues and keeps an eye on everything. Now please excuse me, but I have other meetings to attend today.
The story sounds a little fishy to me. Why was Chris Joy talking to her at first? I thought the bodyguard just kind of saw her walking by. But here it indicates like he's dealing with a situation of some kind. And then how would Morgan know to say get back in the room before she turned around? Wouldn't you have thought she was just going to the elevator or the stairs? So yeah, a little weird there. Alright, so now I've got another lead in the suburbs, which is the bodyguard. And I've also got her house. But I can also go to downtown to see both Chris Joy and the crime scene. Let's try the suburbs. So I'm going to drive there, bring us to 11 a.m. And first, let's check out her house. 2 hours. going to put us at 1 p.m. You get to Ocean Park Boulevard in Santa Monica without issue. After parking 2 blocks away from Jennifer's home, you walk towards it. You talk to neighbors you meet along the way, trying to get as much information about the girl as possible. You determine that she led a simple, easygoing lifestyle. She often rode around on her roller skates, Walkman on her hip, and headphones on her ears. I feel like they're trying to push the 80s at me. She had crazy hairstyles and often wore colorful clothes inspired by Madonna music videos. The neighbors from the house 2 doors down tell you that Jennifer had a friend that visited her often. They think her name is Crystal. She had long brown hair, a dark tan, seemed to be around 25 years old, and drove a white Camaro in which she would pick Jennifer up. Nice, got a first name and a car. You head to the house next door to Jennifer's. An elderly woman answers the door, and you find out that a few days ago there was some utility issue in Jennifer's home. She remembers a van from an electric company parked on the street in front of the house, and a man in a red uniform getting out. He was tall, blonde, and wore sunglasses. When she asked if he'd come check her wires too, he refused. He was a bit rude and had a strange accent. Oh man, I feel like the plot just got a whole lot more complicated. When you finally approach Jennifer's home, you go around the side. Peeking through the window, there's not much to see. The police clearly haven't been here. Oh, okay, so this is a new thing for this expansion. Make a decision now. Add 2 stress to the token pool to enter the home despite a lack of an official warrant. That'll flip this. Or we can go to 100B, which is a further lead, to wait for an official warrant. Or leave without doing anything. Well, we all know that in the 80s movies it always makes sense to break the rules and push the limits, so we are taking our first 2 stress, although we can't go to that limit of 7. You decide to only look around and not touch anything. Carefully, you enter the home. What would Bradley do if he saw you now? You'd rather not think about it. In the kitchen, there are unwashed mugs and leftovers of someone's breakfast. An empty package of AA batteries lies disposed of off to the side of the counter. An issue of Rolling Stone with Boy George on the cover is sitting next to a waffle maker that seems to have accumulated weeks of burnt waffle scraps. On the wall hangs a pink telephone. Next to it is a small cork board. Pieces of paper with numbers written on them are tacked onto it. One of them is a number for Crystal, another says Dad. You write down both of them in your notebook. Nothing else catches your eyes in the rest of the home, but as you're leaving, you notice an odd black box on the wall above the front door, just underneath the ceiling. Taking a stool from the kitchen, you stand on it to get a better look. The device is about the size of a deck of cards, and it doesn't seem to have any labels or identifying marks. There are no traces of dust on the box. It must have been installed very recently. Okay, we can add 1 stress to a token, pull another one to dismantle and secure the mysterious box. Maybe like a listening device, maybe it recorded something. The team refers further lead, again, unofficial analysis, 121. Or we can leave Jennifer's home and get the official warrant. So for that, we would spend 2 authority from the token pool and push for analysis of the box, 121B laboratory. And we also have a lead. Phone numbers are located at Crystal and Tom Wolf, 133 police station. Crystal's definitely the important one here. You know, I don't know if I want to push things too much further. I might destroy the box if I try to take it off myself. So why don't you help the laboratory work with it? I'm getting close to the end of the first day, but again, I'm in the suburbs, so I think I should talk to Morgan, the guy who actually shot her, see if his story matches up with the interrogation of the senator. Alright, so here we go. We've got only 1 hour this time. Not bad. If we go a little bit into overtime, we should be able to do some more digging. The bodyguard is already waiting for you when you arrive at the agreed-upon diner. You show him your badge, sit, and order something to drink. Are you going to describe the coffee? Doesn't look like it. Morgan starts by stating he cannot disclose any information regarding his client's meetings that night. You reply that you understand, you're not concerned with politics, and start asking questions. Why didn't Teller book the entire floor to himself for the sake of security? Isn't that the typical procedure? Alright, we're going to the database, questioning 116. Alright, so again, this is from the original detective, but LSL means low stress level, M means medium, H means high. Can give you a hint based on like kind of your observations of the suspect as to whether they might be lying. I don't know. It was his running mate who booked the room. Mr. Joy said that he would be there alone anyway. The hotel was empty and he should be saving money for the campaign. When did you find out you weren't alone after all? Those chicks showed up on our floor shortly after 7 p.m. I wanted to call the hotel manager to move them somewhere else, but Mr. Joy said there was no need to make a fuss. Okay, Mr. Joy is looking kind of suspect here. Did anyone visit them? Just a pizza delivery guy who showed up shortly after midnight. Before that, the brunette took the elevator down several times to buy alcohol and cigarettes. She was teasing me a few times, but I knew it was just for fun. Judging by the amount of stuff she was bringing back with her, she was quite a good drinker, I have to admit. She wasn't drunk. She seemed to be alright. What about the pizza delivery guy? Tall, well-built, blonde, confident stride, what the heck? That's the electric guy that went to her house. He just passed us by, delivered the pizza, walked in, walked out. That brunette took the boxes and paid him. I didn't talk to her. And then the younger girl walked out. She had a Walkman and headphones. She was listening to music. She didn't stagger, didn't really look drunk, but I knew she took something else. Her eyelids were falling constantly, and she had a very weird facial expression. I knew something was wrong. What do you mean by weird facial expression? As if she was really concentrating on something, I don't know. She seemed absent. Oh, that's medium, so maybe he knows more than he's letting on? What happened next? I asked her to take the stairs because the boss was supposed to go to the meeting, but then she told me not to stare at her. After a little banter, Mr. Joy came to the door and asked what was going on. She was already walking away, so I said it's nothing, a simple misunderstanding. That's when the boss appeared at the door, so I tried to calm him down. How do you calm him down? I said, Mr. Teller, please go back to the room. The situation's under control. Okay, so that does sound like the story. That's when she stopped? Yeah, she turned back, saw him, pull out a gun. I told her to move back, and I warned her twice to lower her gun. Once she pulled the trigger, I did the same. It wasn't my intention to kill her, I simply tried to disarm her. Alright, now that, he would be pretty stressed out from killing someone, so I think that's understandable. Both Mr. Joy and Mr. Teller were standing at the entrance to her room. Mr. Teller did, Mr. Joy managed to move away from the door a few steps. He was behind Mr. Teller inside the room. Who called for an ambulance and the police? Mr. Joy. Thank you. For anything else, please contact me. Leave the business card on the table and go back to your car. Alright, so clearly we've got this blonde guy visiting her right before the incident. So maybe he told her something. Maybe he threatened her unless she shot at the guy. And then she turned around when she heard the name Teller, which maybe she didn't realize he was there. And then when she realized he was there, she knew she had to target him or she wanted revenge on him. I don't know. I'm getting pretty low on time. I think I want to go to the lab. I'm done with the suburbs. And I want to analyze that box. It'll probably take me into overtime, but I think that's a good kind of fun thing to end this day on and this video. So remember, it said it would take 2 of my authority just to get the search warrant to grab the box from the house. Oh, crud. 3 hours? Alright, so that's going to take us to 6 p.m. So that's 2 more stress. I'm glad we didn't just tear the box off, because that brings us to 4 already. The black box is laying on a table in the laboratory like a dissected corpse. It has been torn open with wires poking out in every direction and components separated into various piles. Around the room are all sorts of pieces of advanced technological equipment that were used in testing the device. Connor O'Donnell, the lead on the test, goes around switching the machines off and finally looks towards you, nodding. And, you ask? Please follow me, he answers and heads to his desk adorned by a new IBM computer. Should I reprint the report or save it on a print it? Okay, here's the report. Electronic device. The function of generating sound waves in a frequency not heard by the human ear. Waves are arranged to create the words Robert Teller. Electronic parts bear numbers identifying them as coming from a government storehouse in the state of California. External power supply, automatic switch, probably connected to the light switch. Okay, we've got some numbers here. I don't think those are fingerprints. I'll have to enter those in the system. So my first thought for this is someone else installed this secretly and maybe she was brainwashed to have Robert Teller on the mind. It was like an activation word. I'm definitely getting some like Manchurian candidate vibes here. And yeah, that totally tracks, because remember, she was walking toward the stairs, not going to do anything, and she suddenly hears Mr. Teller go back inside, Robert Teller go back inside. Her keyword activates her. She turns around and tries to shoot the guy, not even of her own will. And the blonde guy who came to see her, he had an accent. So she's a sleeper cell, or she's innocent in the matter, but maybe he kind of set her up to be triggered in some way. And Chris would have to be in on it, right? Or the guy set them up to be in that hotel room because she would have gone to some random hotel room on her own. So yeah, curiouser and curiouser. And definitely a cool place, I think, to end this case. I'm going to play through the rest of it, of course, and try to get through the entire 3-set thing. But yeah, hope you enjoyed that little look. Sorry for lots of reading while my voice is still a little tired from PAX U last weekend. But good gaming, and we will see you at the next stop.